So John unfortunately won't be joining us this morning. He's a little bit tied up. So we'll start with our usual Q&A. And just while everyone is coming on board and trickling in, if anyone does have any questions to start off with, doesn't have to be on this topic, can be anything decent related, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Of course, during the stream, if you do have any questions, you can either put it in the chat room, we'll pick it up, or you can, if you're feeling confident, you can take over the microphone and ask away. Or if you're feeling confident to come on camera, come on board and get direct feedback. So should be enough time today. Dennis, maybe while we've got a bit of time, maybe you can give a brief introduction what we'll be going through today.
Today we're going to do some group head cleaning, and then as well as Paul, you're going to show us how to take out the brushes from the group head elements, and as well as the rubber seal. And then we move on into a cleaning of the steam one. So I think with these few procedures, it will take us a long time, for today. So hopefully, if you guys have any question, then you just pop in the chat, or if you want to, just raise up your voice, and hopefully we can get it done and get it settled, answering your questions.
So Andrew F, hello Andrew F. You've got a question unrelated to cleaning, but easiest way to calibrate flow. I just got the 0.3 mm basket, just run the calibrate profile and adjust flow multiplier. Excellent. So the easiest way is to use the flow calibration setting. If I just find it on our tablet. So in presets, if you can't find it in your regular menu, you may have to use the eyeball to bring up the main list. And you should find something called
Does it have to do with the flow?
Yeah, I can't remember the specific name of it, but there is a profile on here that helps you calibrate flow. And here it is. It's under T for test flow calibration. Okay, so if you find the preset in the full list set under the eyeball button, you'll find under T test flow calibration. Just check that checkbox and return back to the main menu, and you will find that test calibration is in there. Okay, so if I put the camera up while I'm talking, so you can see that it has a steps and it tests each flow at certain parameters. And essentially, if you, I'll post up the manual up here in a moment, the manual page in the chat. But essentially, when you run this profile, you will find when you connect your Bluetooth scale, your blue line, which is your volume in cup, should match your brown line, which is your volume in cup, and your blue line, which is your flow rate, should match quite closely together. I think from the top of my head, if your blue line is under the your brown line is under the blue line, you need to lower your flow calibration. If it is higher than the brown line, then you need to increase your flow calibration. Okay. But I'll post that manual page in the chat in a moment, and then you can have a read through that. And obviously, if you have any more questions, you can get back in contact with us. But it's a very good feature in making sure your flow is calibrated to your location's electricity. We do our best to calibrate in the factory, but as we know, sometimes it can your electricity won't be the same as our factory set. So it's a good place to start. Okay. So Dennis, I'm going to make you co-host as well. So if I'm on the camera and stuff, you can help me switch cameras and things like that.
Okay.
Excellent.
I'm trying to figure out my whole spoonful of the coffee is how many grams.
Oh, okay.
Let me try that out. Yeah, just give me 10 seconds. Yeah, try to tear this. All right. Just now I tried with a decent scale. It was 0.1 gram.
Okay, and that was just like the tip.
Yeah, so it's a really spoonful. Oh, okay. The full of it is 3.4 gram. This is the standard. Let me show you guys. This is standard of the group head brush. Yeah, usually come with a spoon. Yeah, so I always use this because the coffees always do not come with the spoon inside. So there's no spoon inside, so I usually use this. Yeah. So with this, full of it, it's 3.4 grams. 3.4. I can't get more than that. Let me try to get more than that, which is really ridiculous. Yeah. A lot to me. Okay, the full of it is 3.9. Really get full of it. Yeah, full of it. Let me adjust the whole thing over here. 3.9 grams. So max out, I would say give and take 4 grams. Yeah. All right. So the recommended label stated here is 3 grams. Yeah, 3 grams. And there's no spoon in it, so just recommend 3 grams. But usually I will use half of this. Yeah, half of this. I see there's someone, Gary is raising up the hand. Oh.
Yes. I was just going to find a good point.
Yeah.
Hi, Gary.
Answer his question.
Hey, guys.
Gary.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this week I went from being decent curious to a decent owner. So actually, the machine is on its way.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The machine is on its way. And so I'm thinking about, this is a great topic, right? Because I want to get off to a really good start.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about water chemistry and not so much about what makes for a good tasting shot as much as how can I make sure that the water I put in the machine is not causing scale and other damage. And so I did go to my water district's website to look at some of the data there. And unfortunately, well, the good and bad news is that there's a lot of data.
Yes.
And so I'm not quite sure what specifically I should be looking for to tell if my water needs some kind of conditioning. Any ideas?
Yep. So some very good questions there. And I think water chemistry can be a very deep subject, but with a lot of beginners, we generally say if you have a kettle at home, have a look inside your kettle. And more often than not, you will see a scale forming in there. Now, if we have a general sort of guideline in that if you see scale in your kettle, then the water coming into your location or premises is essentially too hard to be used in the DE1, and processing of the water or sourcing of more adequate water is necessary. I think on the general ruling on the forum and between decent users is that any water that has calcium in it will form scale. So it is a kind of catch-22 that we need calcium in water to a certain extent to help with extractions. But obviously we want that calcium to be at a low level so that we can maintain an adequate D-scale schedule to keep on top of the scale from affecting your machine. So that's the general ruling we will say. I think it's great to hear that you've also done some research at your local water supplier in trying to find out data from them. We are still on the recommendations of SCA water chemistry guidelines, and that is from the top of my head is 40 parts per million in terms of calcium. Now we focus more on the calcium point, and if it's within the range of the SCA recommendation, i.e. 40 to around about 80, it's generally okay. We would recommend you to do a D-scale 1 to twice a year, depending on your usage and depending on how hard your water is. Now, just as a reference point, if you don't descale or you don't use proper water in your DE1, you know, we've seen instances of people blocking up their machines within 2 weeks, and they were using water that was far too high. It was, you know, over 100. I think it was over 150, and it took less than 2 weeks. So as long as your calcium levels are you know, within 80 or less, and you are looking to descale once or twice a year, in general, you won't find any problems arising from your DE1 from scale. The problems will rise if you are using harder water and you descale when you find trouble or when you find the message pop up. We feel it's better to do a descale before anything else happens that's, you know, within the pipelines of your DE1 before it gets detrimental to the point where your machine won't function. There are guidelines on the manual, which I will also post up in here in a moment. So as Dennis gets into all this in terms of the topic today, I'll post the links to the flow calibration and also to the recommendation guidelines based on the SCA. Okay.
And if not mistaken, Paul, you did wrote about the topic of the water quality, the recommendation of water quality in diaspora.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can, you know, in table content.
So I'll add that page to there, and I want to add that there are different ways of getting the adequate water to your DE1. The simplest way would be to provide bottled, remineralized water. Some supermarkets have vending machines, which is very convenient, that you can just bring your own container, or you can just source mineral water within the ranges of the SCA water chemistry recommendation. So, yeah. Okay, so Andrew's got a question saying, my water has too much chlorine, like way too much. So I went full RO, $250, then added minerals back in, cheap, customizable. Easiest is to get water delivered in 5-gallon jugs or go to a coop and refill there. Yes. So that's what I was mentioning about the vending machines. It's very easy to go refill. Or you can do as Andrew has done, in implement a RO system. It does have a little bit of peace of mind with an RO, but you also have to bear in mind that some systems reuse tap water back into your RO filtration. So if you are adding minerals back in, that is fine, but you also have to be aware some RO systems put back in your tap water to bring back up the TDS. But I'm wondering, Andrew, are you adding minerals from, let's say, Barista Hustle recipes and adding in yourself? Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so some users as well go one step further in that they really want to standardize their water, and they essentially create mineral concentrations, i.e. magnesium concentrate and calcium concentrate, which they add to the water after RO. So they're really customizing their TDS to be standardized. But also it's they've more than likely done a lot of trial and error and find a water that works well with what with the coffee that they are using. So that is an option for you as well, Gary, but is more for if you really want to tinker with a blend that you really love and you want to get the most potential out of it. But more often than not, you will probably go through the easiest route. So if you do, let's say, for example, your local co-op has a vending machine for refill of water, then you may find that is the best route for you. So have a play around, with mineral water, have a play around with recipes, and find what works for you. But the summary is that if you have scale in your kettle, then you do have to look for treatment for your water. Okay, fantastic.
All right.
Okay. So, Dennis, if you want to take over and...
all right. Shall I begin?
Yeah, you can begin.
Brian. Oh, yeah, Brian.
Yeah.
This is called Brian. Brian is the one that we were talking about. He came to me and we met at my place. And then we talk about the decent. Then the following week, he already confirmed the order. Currently, he's waiting for the shipment now.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, for you all to know that Malaysia has not much of issues on the water quality in terms of hardness. So through my experience in as a barista, 8 years in commercial and also as well as home barista. So we never have any scale problem. For instance, that I've been using some other home machines for the past 6 years before I sold it. I never have any scale issues. Yeah, so it's quite minimal issue in Malaysia in terms of quality of the water.
Right.
So,
yes.
Yeah. Cool. So shall I begin with the procedures?
Yeah. That'll be great.
Cool.
And I'll look up those links and I'll post those into the chat while you're talking.
All right. Okay. So usually, what I will do, I will just okay. Let me show you. I have two tools over here. One is meant for scrubbing off the screen, the group screen, and another one is meant for, if you don't have this, it's fine, because this is hard to get. It's very difficult for me to get this as well. This is meant to tuck it into the group head and scrub off the dirt from the group head track. You see, it's easier. But also, if you want to have, if you use this, there's no issue at all. All right, there's no issue. It's just you need to pay more attention and tuck it in and go more repetitive, I would say, gesture. And this is much more easier. Just put it in, wet it up, put it in, and then just go around with it. Okay, so what I'll do usually, so perhaps Paul, I will just move to the cam number 2. I'll just off this because this is not movable, the station. So I'll move on to cam number 2, yeah?
Yep.
Stop this video, Chris. Okay. All right, where's the camera? Okay. All right. I pull a shot. It's not dirty enough. It's not that dirty, but usually I'll just splash a little bit of water out, make sure it's wet, soap. Then I stop. And then I use this. I scrub off, right? I scrub off the screen first, yeah? So then I stop. Make sure everything's clean and scrub off wherever you have anything over there. Then I use this. If you don't have this, it's fine. You can just use this to tuck it in. Yeah, the stripe is fine while it's running water a little bit while it's wet. Now the reason why I need it wet because I try not to scratch. If it's dry, yes, it's very easy to scratch the whole thing. Yeah, especially the rubber seal. So you need everything is wet so you can scrub off the dirt. Yeah, so for this instance, I use this, soak it up first. Yeah, it's hard to do this with one hand. Okay, I'll do this, scrub it off, whatever dirt over there. So I repeat, usually I'll do this like at least 4 to 5 times. Yeah, yeah, so like that, like so. So it's done. Then I use a screen. Give me a minute, I will grab it. Give me a minute, I go grab the blind filter, yeah? Just okay, 10 seconds, just in front of me.
And I like how Dennis is using 2 different cleaning brushes. I've personally used both of them before. I really prefer the circular one, simply because it makes the job a lot easier. Yep.
Yep. Yep. So I have this. I filled up water. Okay, let me press this button. Stop. I filled up water. Usually I rinse the first time without the detergent. Just let it run for at least 10 seconds. Now, this is the manual way, the very manual way. If you go to the preset, which I'll show to you guys, there's a preset. It's called, okay, Okay, it's called forward flush. You see this? This is much more easier. You just run it. It will auto flush and stop, and auto flush and stop, and repeat 3 times. Yeah, so it's that easy. So you don't have to do that manually. So if you have this preset, it's already in the preset list. You just need to go and find edit from the eyeball. And then you just press like that. It will auto flush for 3 times. So usually I will just use the forward flush preset to rinse the group head at least once before I put in any detergent. Yeah. Just like that. Done. So.
And the reason you do that is to quicken up the process, right? Yeah,
quicken up the process, or else I'll just stand over here and wait for 10 seconds and then repeat that at least 3 to 5 times. It's up to you. This make my life easier. And so with that, the reason why I need to flush out, the reason why I do this without detergent first, because I need to flush out all the dirt coming out first. Yeah, scrub off and then rinse off. Then only I put in the Kafisa. Now, let me try to do this. Let me try to do this one single-handedly, yeah?
Okay.
Okay, it's over here. All right. So first of all, now, usually I don't scale. I do not scale this, yeah? But it's recommended 3 grams in the label, yeah? So I just try to follow the specs, but it's okay. Based on my experience, I've just used half of it. Yeah, I just use half of it. So I'm not sure how many grams is this. 1.4. So usually I use like this, like so. It's sufficient enough. And if let's say I use 1 spoonful of it, it's around 3.5 to 4 grams. It's way too much to me, yeah? So that's why I just use half of it. It's sufficient enough. Now, bear in mind, we don't use detergent every day if you're using it at home. Let's say for my scenario, let's say I use DE1, just pull 2 shots or 3 shots a day. Every day I'm using this. So I will do the detergent once a week. Once a week, unless today I have many guests. Let's say I have 15 cousin or aunties or uncle coming over and visit me. So after I pull 15 shots, 20 shots, then I have to use detergent. Yeah. So if not, it's very simple. You don't use detergent, just rinse and scrub off all the coffee dirt. Like so. Just like this. And then I need to fill up the water. All right, like this. So what I'll do, I'll just okay, hold on. You keep on pressing. Trying to rest over here. Okay, over here. So what I'll do with the hot water, I'll just scrub a little bit, make sure it dissolves, so it's much more effective before I put it into the group head. Now it's all dissolved. It's all dissolved in liquid. Then I put it in. Lock it tight. And then make sure I'm still using the forward flush. Just press the start button and then let it flush out. Simple as that.
Cool.
Now, most probably we'll run through this preset at least like 5 times, 4 times, until you don't see any visible of soap. Yeah, until the water is clear, it's transparent, it's clean, it's hygiene, then only you stop. So let it run. Yeah. One more time, then we shall take out the group head and have a look at what's going on inside the group head. One more time. Out. Okay, just like that. Stop. So every single time I will just take out and see how dirty it is. So obviously this is not done yet. Obviously it's not done yet. So I'll just make sure, put it back in and run again until the water is clear and it's clean. Yeah, I think today we'll not have a lot of coffee dirt because last night I just used detergent and clean up. We pulled around like 40 shots yesterday. Yep. Yep. So we're going to do this repetitive at least 4 to 5 times. Now, the objective here is to make sure the water is clear, the soap is out. Simple as that. One more time. The soap should be getting lesser, soap water. Just like that. Done. Again, check out. And by the way, oh yeah, there's some coffee dirt over here. You see it's a little brownish, little bit of brownish, yeah. So again, we need to put it back in, start again. And I think Shin has created another preset for this back flushing, blind flushing. He made it like 10 times. So it's for this preset, it's 3 times. You flush 3 times. For Shin's preset, you flush 10 times. So, but that one is we have to load the preset into your Android tablet manually. I will try to write that topic out. So I find that much more easier. I'm a lazy guy. I don't like to do a lot of things. So I just, by using Shin's preset, the back flushing presets, it will run cycle of 10 times. For this is cycle 3 times. So obviously it's getting clearer. It's getting clearer. Yeah. I have to do this again. Like
that's
that.
I like that how Shin's done a longer version of it because it makes it a lot easier, less steps for you.
Yeah.
Or we can obviously if you're in a commercial environment, you'll be shutting other things down in your bar, or maybe enjoying your cup of coffee when you finished after you while you're cleaning the machine. So it does save a lot of time.
Yeah. I believe that, let's say with Shin's preset, I'll just leave it here so I can clean other stuff. That's most important. So I don't have to, oh, it's done. So I have to press again, run another 3 cycles, stuff like that. Okay, again lesser. So it saves a lot of my attention for the other stuff. For example, I clean whatever things over here on my coffee bar, my basket, my brushes. So I just come back, let's say another 5 minutes to just check it out. So I guess 2 more times, this will get done.
So while we're waiting for this to be done, like I'm sure there may be some people on here that may not understand what is going on inside the group head and where the water is flushing out from. So would you like to explain some of the stuff that's going on inside?
Okay, cool. Now, this is to flush out whatever in the group head. Yeah, you try to build up the pressure and flush everything out along the way to here. So if there's any coffee dirt or if there's any oil from the coffee, it will just flush out by the pressure and coming out from here to here. Yeah. So because a lot of things, it's inside of the pathway, it's inside of the group head, the brush cannot brush off. You can't see it. So that's why you need to have a pressure to build up to flush everything out along the way. So it's getting clearer. So one more time should be just nice. Yep. Just like that. Just like that. So this is just blind flushing. That means I'm using blind basket to flush the detergent out or the water out. We call this blind flushing. There's another function, it's called cleaning, which later I will explain a little bit, but this is compulsory. The auto cleaning function is not so compulsory, but it's advised to do that once a week or once in 2 weeks time. It depends on your usage. Yeah, okay, almost done. One last time. All right. What do you think, Paul? Should I do it one more time?
No, I think it looks good. There's no foam. The water looks pretty transparent.
I think just right now, just only the dirt all out. The dirt are out. I'm not sure you can see it, guys. You guys can see it. Yeah, a little bit dirt is out.
A few grains, yeah.
But the soap is no longer there. So I just dispose the dirt and run one more time. Make sure the dirts are out. So you see, just now, after I brush it, yeah, and then I rinse it. I just went off with the full flush with just clean water, which is water. There's no dirt. There wasn't any dirt. But after I use the detergent, yeah, so, and with the pressure, then by the end of it, everything's out. So it's not advised to use this every day. Yeah, it's not advised to use this every day because the chemical is very harmful. We used to wash, we used to wash stuff. You can use this to wash your brushes, to rinse your brushes, you know, stuff like that. Now, my personal experience, I use this to wash all these brushes, you know, to soak the group, the basket, the group head. Oh, no, not the group, sorry. The polar filter. I didn't use any glove, right? Most of the time, just put this in and brush off with my fingers with water and kafiza in it. It's very harmful to your skin. Most of the time, after I brush off everything by my bare hand, and then I rinse off the solution, the detergent. What I found is a lot of my skin is not feeling well. My skin is pale because of this is very harmful. This is very harmful and dry.
Yeah.
So try not to use this as often for the machine if you're using at home. So once a week we do. So if you use a lot every day, if you use every day, but you're just barely pulling 2 shots, 4 shots, 5 shots a day, it might harmful to the internal parts of it, of this machine. So it's recommended to use this once a week, yeah. And the rest you just brush and rinse off with tap water would do, or clean water.
I think it's pretty safe on our components, though, Dennis. I think it's more for us, and we're not consuming it.
Yeah,
I think yeah. So it's mainly for us because we are preparing things that we are to consume. So we're just mindful of you know, trace cleaning chemicals going into our drinks. So I would say if anyone is concerned about their skin or have sensitive skin when coming to clean, my advice would be just to wear gloves. You know, it can be any gloves, like the medical grade ones, or just normal washing up gloves will do. And I would describe the feeling is it's a little bit like bleach when you get it on your hands. It is drying and it does it does cause your hands to peel.
Discomfort.
But as baristas, you know, we just kind of manned up about it and just kind of did the job there, and it washed our hands immediately. I remember doing that quite a lot. So, but so if you are concerned about it, just wear gloves, it will be okay to be used in the machine. So no worries there. Brian does have a question about the auto cleaning, Dennis.
Okay.
He's asking about.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll auto cleaning function. So I'll answer that question later on. Before I forget, there's a concern that what if I use this a lot, or what if I use these 2 scoops, yeah, without. Let's say this machine is shared in a shared environment. Let's say a family, few members of it. Let's say they think one of the members think that, oh, I think double is better. Yeah, let's say 2 scoops of this. It should be like 8 grams or 7.5 grams. Yeah. So it's beyond our control, but long-term wise, it's not advisable. It might do some harmful to the parts of the internally. But let's say if that's so, you're concerned whether, oh, my next shot, is there any problem? Or could it be harmful to consume my next shot the next day? I mean, so what you do usually in the commercial environment, what we do usually, we just pull, the next day, we just pull an empty shot and the shot just throw away, dispose the shot. So it will, the oil, the coffee oil, everything, we just run through the water path and everything. And so that the chemical inside of the parts, internal parts, we're just flushing off along the way with the coffee oil. So it's okay. So don't worry. Let's say if you don't think that you have a concern whether this chemical is something left over inside or whatever, what you can do, just pull a shot and dispose that shot. Do not drink that shot if you want to be safe. That's my advice. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's a very good.
What do you think, Paul?
I really like that technique, and we used to term it as seasoning the machine. And you know, we used to purge the grinders in the morning with 3 shots, and those 3 shots were used to purge the machine. You know, we prepare it as normal and extract it as normal, but like he said, we would throw them away. What we would throw that shot away, and we would actually press the shot to run through again, just as an extra peace of mind. So a good thing as well is if you have stale beans, it's a great way of using those stale beans. You know, I have bags where I have less than 10 grams or something, and I just mix them all together, and I use that shot as my seasoning shot. So I'm not wasting coffee, but I also got peace of mind that I'm not drinking anything that's going to harm my body. So yes, a really good point, Dennis. You know, if you've got other people cleaning the machine, or you know, following the instructions as it is, as we've seen, it is very concentrated and is very powerful detergent. So making sure we're not getting it in our drinks is you know, paramount, to be honest. So that's a great piece of advice, Dennis. Yeah,
especially in a shared environment that we are working in with a bunch of colleagues. You're not sure who's you know, who's flushing out completely, who's not. I saw some barista, so they just do the blind flushing twice with the detergent. They just thought that the work is done. What I did just now, I was flushing out, and I did not throw away the soap, the detergent solution. I did not dispose it. I just continuously using the same detergent until the water is clean.
Yeah.
If let's say there's dirt inside of the blind basket, then only you can dispose. Yeah. But if I'll be using the same detergent, the same thing, same solution, the entire process, I've been running like 5 times on the presets. And I saw some baristas, they do once and twice. The 3rd time still had a lot of soap in it, a lot of power, a lot of soap, a lot of foam. But instead of continuing to flush out the soap, right? But they disposed. And they thought that job is done, which is, I don't agree with that. So
yeah, I kind of agree with you there. It also brings to light that if they are throwing away that concentration of detergent, they're also weakening the solution inside the pathway that we're trying to clean. So every time they're cleaning it, it's getting weaker and weaker, whereby the method you're introducing is you're keeping the concentration as high as possible to ensure that pathway is clean. And I think that's a very good point as well. Yeah.
So so make sure you run the detergent until it's clean. That's the main objective, yeah, to make sure it's safe to consume.
Yeah.
All right. So just now Brian did ask about the auto cleaning function, right?
Yeah, yeah. He was asking whether are we using just plain water, or are we adding any coffee detergent to the water tank?
Plain water? What do you mean?
I believe Brian.
I don't get the question. Yeah.
I think Brian may be confused with the descaling process and the cleaning process.
Yes.
So yeah, I think maybe we could clear up the different features of cleaning process and the descale process.
So cleaning process is not descale. Cleaning process is something similar with blind flushing. I call this blind flushing. Some people call it back flush. Some people call it forward flush. So I keep it simple. I'm using the blind basket to flush out the group head, whatever dirt inside, called blind flushing. So, but the main difference between the blind flushing and the auto cleaning feature, it's the pressure. Now, blind flushing is trying to build up pressure to push out whatever dirt, whatever things is clocking inside coffee, whatever things is clocking inside. By using blind flushing, we push out. So auto cleaning, after we push out, we try to run the water pathway with auto cleaning function. Yeah. Also, the auto cleaning function helps out not just cleaning at the bottom of the bottom side. Let me show you. It's hard to explain just
yeah.
With the sign language.
Yeah, I've turned my machine off, so it is cooling down. We'll get the internals a bit later on when I turn the machine upside down. But I think Dennis is referring to the brass plates inside the...
Yeah. So easier for me to explain will be like this. The camera. Okay, blind flushing, we're trying to flush out whatever parts over here into along the way, then flushing out the dirt, whatever, and dispose. So for the auto cleaning feature that we're trying to build up the water, and then without pressure, we're trying to flow out everything dirt along the water pathway into here, into disposal. So slightly different because blind flushing, we are just cleaning the bottom part of the group element. Yeah, but auto cleaning, okay, perhaps you can you pin my camera too? Brian is commenting, can't see my video.
Okay.
Can't see my video. All right.
I'll make yours bigger.
Yeah. Okay. So blind flushing, in short, we are flushing out everything with pressure at the bottom part of the group head. So for auto cleaning feature, we are trying to clean everything of every water pathway along the way and try to flush out by flushing out without pressure. So it's advised not just to use auto cleaning feature. It's advised to use blind flush plus once a week on auto cleaning feature. Because on an auto cleaning feature, if you're just using auto cleaning features, it will not get the job done because a lot more things you need to push out, a lot of dirt you need to push out with pressure, which auto cleaning features do not have any pressure build up. Yeah, so it's advised to use forward flush, blind flushing every day. Once a week, you can use the auto cleaning feature. Is that clear? Am I clear, Paul? Is my explanation clear enough?
There. My
okay.
daughter.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right. So I'll demonstrate the auto cleaning feature later on. perhaps right now we're still in the segment of the group head cleaning. So Paul, do you want to take out how to take out the brushes and the screen, and as well as
okay. So let me just set up my camera.
Rubber seal.
And
yeah. Okay.
I'll let you set up the pins for everyone so they can see.
Okay. Let me try to pin you.
Okay, so I have just turned off my machine about 5 minutes ago, but I think it turned itself back on because I was messing with my tablet. So I've just turned it off now. And the reason why I wanted to turn it off a little bit early is because you wouldn't really do this unless it's, let's say, your first time performing this, and you kind of want to really explore and understand what is going on in your machine. Or number two, you are doing a deep clean or replacing a certain part in your group head, maybe like the gasket. Okay. Now, it is good to kind of keep it clean for the reasons that the group head is very hot. You can wear gloves for this, which I will be doing, but just be mindful that if your machine is still on or has been on recently, your group head will be very hot. So when you're removing the internal parts, i.e. the brass parts, because they are brass, they have absorbed a lot of the heat, and you may require a towel just so you can take those brass parts out without burning your hands. Okay. So just before you start, you should remove your drip trays. Okay. And I will, in fact, just for safety and just for the camera, also show you the transport mode feature, which will be helpful when we go through the other cleaning processes like descale. Okay. So if I just get into here. Now I'm recording my tablet as well. So I'll be putting the what I'm doing on the tablet onto the Zoom in the final cut of the Zoom, so you can kind of see. But what I'm doing now is I'm going into the machine tab after going into the settings. And what I will be pressing is the transport mode. Okay. Now, as soon as you press transport mode, I don't know if you can see, I'll hold it up to the camera. As soon as you put transport mode, this screen pops up. Okay. I don't know if you can see that.
Yep.
Okay, so it's essentially telling you to pull out the drain, the water tray to almost where the group head is. Okay. Now, I've done this before, and it's kind of a little bit funny in that when you remove the water tank, it also immediately goes, please add water. Okay. And then I can't press the OK sign. So what I have found is that I actually press OK before I have removed the water tank to make sure I can do it. So I'm just going to put the water tank back in. And the screen goes back to normal. And I'm going to press OK straight away on the transport mode and move the water tank out as quickly as I can. Okay. I can hear the pumps going now. And as soon as you hear the pumps change into this high tone, okay, the pumps are now pumping in water and your water pathways are pretty much clear. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop it right there. It doesn't have to be all the way. All we have to hear is the pumps running to that sound, and you can kind of be sure that your pathways are clear. Now, one of the reasons why we do this is to make sure that when we're turning the machine upside down, if, let's say, for example, some piping does come out, it's not going to affect anything else internally in there. Now, the chances of that happening is quite low. The reason being that most of the internals are located at the back with a cover, and most of the water is in the middle towards the front. So it's unlikely it will happen, but it is a safety feature that we've included. Main reason is that the DE1 is portable, and we don't want any water internally leaking and causing damage. Okay. So one thing when you do transport mode is sometimes the water inlet pipe has some residual water inside and will drip onto your table, but it's only a little bit, so don't be alarmed if you discover water on your table after doing this. It's simply just from the water inlet pipe. Okay, so now that the machine is fully drained, I'll turn it off again, and we can go into turning the machine upside down. In talking to some of the team in the factory, there are certain lifting points that are useful. Lifting points being safe places to maneuver the DE1 without damaging the machine. These being the the leg base and actually the group head here. Okay. So what I like to do to turn it around is with my left hand towards the back end, and then the other hand, move the steam one to the side as well. And then the other hand here on the group head, okay? So I will just turn over, making sure I've got the water tank out. Okay, so the water tank's out, so I'm just gonna tip it over now. And I like to be quite safe on this in doing it 2 steps. I'm just gonna remove the power cable as well. Okay. And then I like to pivot on my fingers while I'm moving it up. And I don't know if you've seen on the camera, I have actually got some towels on the bottom of my table, just to make sure I'm not causing any extra damage and there's no scratches on the top of my case. Okay. So as we can see, now that it's upside down, I have much more easier access to the group head internals. Yeah. And if you didn't turn it upside down, you will just be like this. Oh, so it's a little bit. I would recommend upside down, man. I would recommend upside down, definitely. I tried that before. It's so hard. Oh yeah, I mean it's once you get familiar, and that's why I say it's better to do this the first time around cleaning the group head, because you get to have that eye line of where everything is. Okay? Yeah, because I have. The reason why I do not do it like standardized, like I do not do it without upside down, because I have big hand, and when I try to unscrew everything and I try to screw back everything, my hands are blocking the everything. I see. Yeah. Oh, I can see that's a problem. Yeah, but yeah, for sure, try tuning it upside down. It is a little bit more work, but it does make it a lot easier. Especially if you've got longer screws and it's countersunk. You know, trying to buying a special screwdriver that is shorter is the answer, but sometimes it's just easier to work with the tools that you already have. Okay. Now I cleaned this probably a week and a half ago, so it may be quite dirty. I have been pulling quite a lot of shots through. I've been experimenting with a profile at home, but sometimes like this one now, it is a little bit stuck from the coffee oils, okay, and it is still a little bit warm, but if you just go around with your fingers around and just edge it out easily, okay, try not to use a screwdriver because it will damage the brass. Paul, okay? Is it possible for us to have a closer view of what's going on? Yeah. So I've just taken the top part brass part off. Okay, it's not too dirty, but it is a little bit dirty. Okay, we can see in the holes here there's quite some coffee granules. Okay, so the main screw that we've just taken off is just a Phillips number 2 screwdriver, and it is important to use the right size Phillips screwdriver. What you don't want is to start losing the teeth on the screw. So if it is not snug fitting, you can try to use it, but I would suggest to find one that is snug so you don't have to look to replace that screw. Okay, so this is the dispersion screen. So as you can see, it does have coffee grounds behind it. And the blind flush that Dennis just introduced will help to clean this part. And also this top part, okay, which is the top brass distribution block. Okay.
Yeah.
So the blind function will help clean these two parts and also the valve which is here. So this is the valve that all that dirty water came out from. Okay. All right. So now we can see the upper brass block. Okay. And we can also see the temperature probe here. And I believe one of these ones here is the pressure one. I can't quite remember which one it is. Okay. But we also have 3 screws here that hold this block into place. And the lower block here is sat flush. And you can see the 2 nodules here aligned with the 2 nodules here. Okay. All right. And this sensor hole is for that sensor hole. So this is your guideline, okay, for when you want to put it back in. All right. So if it's upside down, just remember that these 2 holes try and go in those 2 holes, and you align it in, and it will fit into place. Okay. So you can see I've not got it into place there. Okay, and it's stuck now. Okay, so it won't move. Right. So that's how you know you do that. So I'll take these other screws out here. Okay, just with the other screwdriver. And thing to note as well is that when you do take these screws out, I'm just going to have to put the camera down for this one.
All right, all right. Okay.
So when you do take these screws out, just make sure you have them in a place that you don't lose them, because the worst thing that can happen is you've done all this and then you lost a screw and then you can't find, you can't put your group head back together. So I've just put a simple basket here, one of the spare baskets that we have, just to make sure they're in one place. And it's good to put good down pressure when you've got a tight screw or when your machine is hot. So when your machine is hot, everything is expanded, and that includes your screws, which will make them tighter. Okay. So that's one of the ideas in trying to get your machine to cool down. It will be a little bit easier to take off these parts, and a little bit easier on the hands because they're not as hot. Okay, so I've just taken these 3 screws out now. Ooh.
Okay.
And it's just dropped into the main hole here. A good note is if you have a magnetic screwdriver, it will be very useful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree.
So this one here will come out quite easily. And if I just get the camera now so you can see how I take it out with one hand. Okay. So I've just got my thumb underneath and just lifting it out like this. Okay. So this is the upper brass block. Okay.
Yeah.
This is how water is distributed all the way around. And it is brass, so don't worry about the color. This is just the natural tarnishing of brass. Okay, so I've somehow got my screw stuck in there, so I'm going to have to take that out in a minute. Usually gravity would help, but gravity is the opposing force right now. So I'm just going to get a pair of tweezers. I'm just going to get that out.
All right.
Okay, so I've got tweezers, but I've got a trusty dental tool today. Okay, the dental tool is helping. Okay, so I have a dental tool here. Okay.
Where did you get it from, Paul?
This is from Alfred's trusty tool room.
Okay.
But I've got a blunter version this time. This is not like a pick version. So this is like a blunter version. So I wanted to see if this was effective as well.
Right. But is that easier? Is that easy to get from, I don't know, hardware shop or something like that? A pick like that?
You can get these online quite easily. But I think some model shops will also have tools like these. I recently went into an arts and crafts place and had a look to see if they had anything that I could use. And they had something similar to the dental tools, but I would say they were a little bit on the expensive side. And it was much cheaper to find them online. Okay, so if you can find them online, I would suggest to get them because this is a very useful tool in getting the gasket out. The gasket can be quite difficult to get out, and the trick is kind of ease it out as in like in how to say, like a tin box. You know how a tin box gets stuck sometimes, and so you have to go around and ease out each part. So it's got enough room to clear out the lid. That's what I would recommend for you to do with the gasket. And I can't quite show you with one hand because I'm kind of, what I'm doing is I'm wedging it in the edge, and then I'm going round the entire circle of the gasket and wedging it out a little bit. You will find the gasket is quite thick. Okay, so it is, I would say, just under 1 centimeter thick. So it is quite thick, and the thickness is what a lot of people have discovered in terms of headspace on the DE1. The DE1 headspace is a lot bigger, and one of the reasons is the gasket here is a lot thicker. So therefore, the headspace is a lot bigger. Now, those are the you that don't know about headspace. Headspace is the distance between the tamped puck and the dispersion screen. Okay.
I believe, Paul, there's a chaffer that they need to pick from the chaffer, right?
Yes, that's
from
correct.
The rubber basket, yeah. You're going to show them later on, right?
That's right. So once I get this,
that's the key. That's a key point. Yeah.
There is a proper way to put it in, and the proper way to put it in is the right way facing up. Okay. And as Dennis has just mentioned, there is a camphor, which is essentially like it's like a, how to say, like a general gradient. That causes the gasket to fit into the housing properly. If we put it the other way, what will happen is that camphor will interfere with the seal on your gasket, and you won't get a good seal. Okay. So I pretty much got this out now. Okay, so I can see one side coming out, and I'm just going to use a pair of tweezers and just trying to pull.
Paul, there's a question that from Brian as well. Is that pig? Will latte art pen do the job?
A latte art pen?
Yeah, the one we try to.
Yeah, the one that they try to draw with, right?
Yeah, draw. We try to draw the foam out. Yeah.
So
will that get the job done?
I would say this one was actually harder to use than the normal pick. Okay, so if I can get this as close to the camera as you can. Okay, it's just like a flat wedge. Okay, but it's curved. Okay. I usually use something like more like a hook, and the hook kind of gives that extra grip. Okay. But this one, in trying this one today, I have actually nicked my gasket just a little bit. So I don't know if you can see in this corner here, you see, I've just got a little bit of a nick where I've just tried a little bit too hard. So I would say using a hook or something sharp is better than using a blunt implement. So if it does have a hook on it or something that can get a little bit more grip, it's a little bit better. Okay. Okay. Now, if I turn this round, we can see the camphor. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can we see?
Yeah.
All right.
A little bit blurry.
Yeah. Okay. So this bit here, the inner bit here is the camphor. Okay. Darker inner circle. And it's just like a 45-degree angle shaved off the inside. Okay. Now, if we had this camphor on the inside, the water would gush out from this point, and we'd have a problem with our seal. Okay. If I turned it around, you see now there is no inner edge like the one last time. Okay, it's just flat. Okay. If I turn it around here, you can kind of see there's an edge here. Okay. So this side should face up. Okay. And the one with no, just a 90-degree edge on the other side, okay, this one should be on the bottom. Okay. Okay.
What happened? Let's say we do it upside down. What will happen?
You would find that the life of your gasket would deteriorate a lot faster because you haven't got that as much area on your gasket to create the seal. Or you would already immediately see droplets of water on the outside of your portafilter. So that's the clue. Anytime you see water on the outside of your portafilter, so this portion here, okay, not on the inside bit, just on this bit, okay,
Leakage.
that is your telltale sign that there's something wrong with the seal on your group head, either it be the gasket or the actual portafilter not locking in tight enough, okay? And that's a pretty clear-cut reason to check your gasket. The gasket, I would say, is the most common thing on a espresso machine to change. And I would say a lot of new users would feel like, oh, I've only used it for 2 months, 3 months. I don't need to change it. But actually, in reality, it could very well be the need to change the gasket. Commercially, we're probably changing them every 2 or 3 months anyway, but the cup numbers are very high. Had a few new users change the gasket maybe once or twice within 3 months, and the major concern or reason why was they were locking the portafilter too far.
Too tight.
The other reason could be they're using non-decent portafilters. The locking wings on the portafilters, i.e. these points here, some are slightly too big, and they cause more damage to the gasket, and they degrade the life very quickly. Okay.
I see.
So
I think most of the issue that cause the rubber seal is wear out fast is because most of the time I have this bad habit as well. After I read some posts in diaspora, they were talking about do not lock the portafilter overnight in long term.
Yes.
Yeah, I have this bad habit as well. I always lock tight, job done, lock tight, then switch off everything, go. That's also my issue that I changed my rubber seal right after I received my DE1 around on 3rd month, 4th month. Right. And always lock tight.
The main reason for that is just the material that this is made out from. So a lot of let's say the cafe latte basket, the blue one that a lot of people use as an alternative. Numerous reasons why. It's very highly available, it's quite reasonably priced, and it fits in our decent. So I don't blame people for using it. It's a very good gasket. But the differences between the two of these gaskets is the silicon content in the cafe latte is a lot higher. So what that causes is that gasket is a lot more spongier, has a lot more compression. Whereas this gasket that Decent has decided to run with is made from MBR rubber, which is a lot harder. Okay, but what that means is that it doesn't compress as much, but will actually expand a little bit during heat, and will create a much tighter seal than a silicon gasket can ever do. So as long as we look after these gaskets, we can find that they do last a lot longer. But as with all gaskets, they have a finite lifespan, okay? And with this gasket here, if we compress this gasket or over-compress this gasket, it really reduces the lifespan. So unfortunately, as users have discovered, that locking your portafilter overnight, that heat and that time will compress this gasket, and you will find that your portafilter will just travel more and more and more closer to 6 o'clock on the GHC. So that's a good, and also another also good clue on when your gasket may be towards the end of its life is how far your portafilter is locking on your GHC. Sometimes that locking can signify just a clean or the gasket life. So it's good to keep an eye on those things. Okay.
So, when do I know that it's time to change a rubber gasket? Like, is there any leakage or?
So the two main things is the water on the outside, and as I just mentioned, the distance of travel that your group head handle has. So, so when I flip this over, I'll show you, and I'll also post in a photograph that I recently made that I've found very useful for people in having a point of reference. Some people may get confused on when I mean 6 o'clock on the GHC. So essentially, I'm just using the GHC as a clock face, and the extraction button is 6 o'clock. Brand new, a gasket just installed with the brand new portafilter should lock just past 7 o'clock hour. Okay, and as it's wearing off, it will get closer to half 6. Okay, when you start getting to 6, you are essentially over tightening and sort of trying to compensate for the lack of seal. So that would be my first port of call on, do I need to clean? Do it clean first? And if it's not improved, then it's more likely the gasket. So it's a process of elimination. Nothing's over 100%, but it's a good signal on when to do it. Why do I say it could possibly be a clean? Is because sometimes when you haven't locked your portafilter properly and you get that coffee grounds coming out as well as water, in those instances, because of the camphor, sometimes some coffee will go around the back of the gasket and go into the housing on the inside the group head. So if I can just show you the housing. So I just get a tool to point out. So this is where the housing of where the gasket is. Okay, so this is where it lives. And I don't know if it's bright enough, but at the moment,
we can see it clearly.
It's a little bit dirty. So if I get a tissue, I'm sure I'll get some coffee grounds here. Okay, so even though I cleaned this and a week and a half ago, I would say if I did this, okay, just around the outside, okay, you can see this black, okay. Now, some of it may be from the rubber, but we can quite see that it's brown and not predominantly black. Okay, so it is coffee powder going in there and then changing to a black oil. Usually this would be black, but because we cleaned it quite recently, it's a little bit brown and it's not turned black just yet. So this portion here, if you find you've changed your gasket and it is still leaking, then this is where the culprit will be. It will be something, some coffee debris or coffee oils is built up to a point where it is inhibiting your seal. Some people I have seen have got very lucky in that they've not realized that this has happened and they've changed the gasket and they've still got the same problem. When we come to open up and have a look at this portion here, the oil in there has become
chocolate.
It looks like a resin. I can't describe it. And they can literally scrape it off, and it looks like black tar.
Okay.
So what has happened there is the gasket sealed around that black tar and managed to get a seal. So sometimes you might get lucky, but it is worthwhile looking behind this housing area to check that you haven't got a buildup. Okay. Okay. And so this is the upper brass part. This part is not detachable. Okay, but how do we clean this part? Is what Dennis was referring to is the cleaning cycle. So as we've mentioned, the blind flushing will only clean the dispersion screen and the upper brass block, which is this portion here. And to clean these two portions, we need to utilize the cleaning function. Okay.
And Paul, I just saw that in the list of presets, there is a test, leakage test. Is that meant for the test of the rubber seal?
I've never used it. It's a good question.
It's in the description, it's stated there you have to use a blind basket and insert it and start the preset.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And, yeah, it's stated there. It's meant to test the O-rings. Water connections.
That makes sense. Yes. So, so you're checking the seals on the O-rings and things like that internally. So I guess if I ever did any repair work on my machine, technicians would advise just double check with this preset to see if we don't have any extra leaks, or we may need to manipulate an O-ring to be more fitting. One of the that's just one of the techniques. Is kind of necessary to make sure it doesn't leak. We kind of wiggle it into the port or insert it manually with a screwdriver first before we put the pipe in. And that test is just to make sure that that O-ring is doing its job. And it will save you some time, because if you've opened up your case, you've taken off the T10 screws, and it will save you putting back the case and then finding out you have to do the job again. So it is more just double check you've fitted everything properly.
All right. So that preset is meant for the internal leakage test.
Yeah.
I see. Cool.
But that's also a good thing to note as well, that these things have been thought about in has the end user implemented it properly? Can we do anything to make sure it is checked and properly done? And is, one of the thorough things that we do to make sure things go smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So while I've got this out, I am going to submerge this into some coffee detergent to see how clean I can get it. But I will leave this one until I use the cleaning cycle next time. So this will miss out on the clean this time, but I will clean these 3 parts, okay? And then also give this a little bit of a clean as well. All right. Okay. And then before I put it back in, I'll just give it a scrub around the housing and then re-implement it back in. Okay. All right. So to do that, I've just got a big bowl, Pyrex bowl, and then another Pyrex dish. Okay. And I've just got some quite hot water here. So just pour it in there. I will be using some Puricaf. So I'll make sure that's fully dissolved before I put it in. And I have 2 bowls, simply one for soaking it and then one to rinse it all off. And then I will also do a final rinsing. So I do like to make sure that I have everything really thoroughly cleaned and safe to drink. Okay, so I'm going to find my pure gas. I'm just going to put the camera back up here.
Okay.
Okay, so I've just got some Puricaf here. And get a teaspoon. Okay, because I've got quite a lot of water, I'm going to use about half, maybe 2/3 of a teaspoon. Okay, if I can get that to the camera.
Yeah, now we can see it, yeah.
So it's about 2/3 of a teaspoon, okay? And what I'm looking for is just a good level of foam on the top, okay? If I get a good level of foam on the top, then I'm usually not bothered about have I got enough in there, okay? This is hot water in here, so it should help it dissolve and clean the parts quicker. You can use cold water, but of course it will take a much longer time, and I would only really recommend that for overnight soaking. But in general, hot water is a lot better. It will get it a lot cleaner, a lot faster. So, okay. So I've got a good amount of foam here.
There's a question that how frequent should we take out the brushes and having some deep cleaning?
Okay, so I gauge this from our commercial cleaning schedule, in that each machine was probably doing 300 coffees each day, and we would deep clean that every night and then put all the parts back in the morning. So this would include soaking of the porter filters in Puricaf, all the baskets, all the screens, and that was it, because it was standard E61 machine. But you can implement that schedule into your DE1, and I find that after about 200-300 shots, your brass and your dispersion screens will have a buildup of coffee. Okay. Yeah. So if you see here, you can see the black here. Okay, this is after 1 week, maybe 3 to 4 shots a day at home. I think maybe more yesterday, but around 3 to 4 shots within a week will create something like this. If you're using darker coffee, it will happen a lot quicker. Darker coffee has a lot more oils. But lighter coffees won't do it as quickly, but it will still generate this mess. Okay, so so around 200, 300 coffees, that's when you should start to think about, you know, oh, I need to clean my internals. Otherwise, you know, you can try and keep on top of with the blind flush, but as we have mentioned, it does not clean the upper brass parts like this one here, which you can see is a little bit dirty, but you know, most of it is the tarnishing, and it's not too bad because it's only been a week and a half. But let's say 200 coffees came through this this brass plate, it would be a lot darker and a lot more oilier. So and you know, if these parts are coated in oils, it will eventually give you, you know, not as clean flavors. It's a lot more muddier. Your aftertaste will be affected greatly. And that's the key thing, is the aftertaste that is affected the most. Okay. All right. So now that I've got my solution done, I'm just going to take the parts I'm going to soak and just drop them in the water. So if I bring it over here. So I've literally just dropped them in the water. Okay, and I think I've got quite a lot of water in here, so I'm just going to put a little bit more Puricaf in. Just a little tip. I do have gloves on, so I'm just going to quickly stir it in here.
Make sure, stir well.
You can also put your screws in there as well. Give them a bit of a clean. And baskets too. So I'm just giving a visual representation of what you can soak. You can also soak your portafilters if you really want. A good technique is to have your water no higher than your handle. Okay, so you know that it's never going to submerge above your wood. If you're really that worried, you can take it off. Oops, excuse the noise of the thing, but you can take it off and submerge it that way if you're worried about your wood getting wet. But it is quite safe just to have the water level at the level of the handle and then submerge your portafilter that way. Okay. And what you'll find is when you soak your metal parts in Puricaf, is it gets that sheen that is similar to a ultrasonic cleaner. Very, very clean. And yeah, so I'm just going to leave that to soak. Now, if this was, I was planning to soak this, if I planned to soak this all the way, I would have it up to here, okay? And I'd make sure I'd have everything coated in this water. Now, the minimum time to soak this is around an hour to good effect, but you could do half an hour with a scrub. So what we'll do in a minute is I'll let it do for 10 minutes and I'll just give it a scrub and give you a clue on what it should look like after a clean. Okay.
Is it safe to soak it overnight? Is that okay?
Yeah. It's safe to soak overnight. That's no problem. You know, if anyone's worried about the baskets and all that, it's the baskets are very high quality steel, and also the portafilters are high quality steel. So the brass is is also designed to be soaked in Puricaf. So I wouldn't worry about anything corroding or anything like that. It's a pretty tried and trusted method. You can kind of see already it's going brown, and this brass plate this brass plate here is getting a lot cleaner as we speak, and little moving around doesn't do it any harm. Okay, so while that is soaking, you can use the solution in here with a brush, or in my case a tissue or paper towel. And you can kind of go into the seams here and start cleaning and rubbing away that coffee grime while it is soaking. Okay.
There's a question, Paul. Is it safe to use an ultrasonic cleaner instead of using chemical?
Yes, for sure. This is how we clean. So if you send your machines to us, We give it sort of like when you take your car into servicing, we give it a magic tree sort of service as well. We give it a clean. We take off all your baskets and portafilters and put them in the ultrasonic cleaner. So when you receive them, they look, you know, almost like brand new. So it's kind of like when you bring your jewelry to the jewelers for a clean. It's a similar thing, and it is completely safe. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
you're cleaning up the brass right now?
Yeah, so I'm just cleaning the housing in the where the gasket is, okay, and it is coming out with some gunk. I've just soaked a little bit with Puricaf, and it's coming off very easily.
Is the rubber seal as well inside soaking?
No. I'm going to wash this in normal water and maybe a bit of soap. Yeah.
So that's not recommended to soak, right?
Not recommended to soak in Puricaf for sure. Only the metallic items are recommended to soak in Puricaf.
All right, cool.
So the portafilter, the brass pieces, and the screws. Everything else you can just wash with the normal kitchen soap, and it should be fine. Okay. All right, so it's getting there. I do actually have quite a big oily streak towards the handle side. So I'm just trying to get as much of that off as possible. Now, this doesn't have to be 100% clean, but what I would say is that the more you stay on top of it, the easier this clean gets. So if you leave it for 6 months before you do it, you're going to have a big task in front of you. If you do this, after every 200, 300 shots, it'll be a lot easier. Okay. All right. So I'm fairly happy with that. So I'll give you a little bit of camera, see if you can see. Okay. All right. So now I can see some of the brass parts here, whereas before it was pretty dark. Okay. And I've tried to rub as much of the brass oils as possible. The handle side here, you can kind of see is still quite dark. Yeah. Okay. But it's pretty flat and there's no real obstruction. If I feel with my finger, there's no obstructions, no big sort of lumpy bits in there. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay.
Paul, you were saying that 200 shots, we have to do some deep cleaning of the brushes, the group head elements, stuff like that. Is there any plan that DE1 will going to have a notification be implemented into the app that will pop up, after 200 shots, time to take out the brushes, group head elements?
I think that's a really good idea. I don't see why not. I mean, we have the notification for when we should be descaling and things like that.
Yeah, descale.
I don't see why not. I think it would be quite a good idea. And I think previously we've not really had that because a lot of our users previously were very clean conscious. And we're probably used to the commercial environment, cleaning it every day and things like that. And now that we're getting a lot of these preventative maintenance questions. So it's a very good question in that knowing when to do it and knowing why we should do it is the important thing. So for example, this case, you won't get a good seal, you won't build up pressure. So it's good to look after it.
It's safe. This is a lot of job for sure, technical job after support.
I think it's because the DE1 is distribution of water is so different, we have to treat it in a different way. We can't just expect it to be every other machine, and I think that's the key point here. Some people may think it's a bit quirky, or why do we have to do it like that now? And I think a lot of the answers are the DE1 has been so innovative and so
different
at the tip of the spear in terms of what was happening in the machine. I mean, take the back flush or the blind flush as we're calling it now, for example. People 10 years ago didn't bat an eyelid about putting the brew water and the dirty water through the same pipe. But from the offset, decent or already designed that why are we putting dirty water and clean water through the same pipe? It's just going to taste bad eventually. So that's why we have the blind flush and cleaning function to differentiate those points. Whereas previously back flush did both of those parts, so it would clean the top and the lower part. But in this case we can't, because we have separate parts. So we have to implement proper cleaning things to make sure that all these things are clean. And you will find that, you know, it's beneficial in that the taste of the coffee is a lot cleaner. I find the necessity to clean the DE1 is a lot less in terms of how much you should do it than, let's say, a traditional machine. I have less problems, like, you know, we have staff machines in the factory where, you know, they hardly ever get cleaned, and I love flavor, so it's kind of like it should bother me, but it doesn't bother me as much as I think it should.
Okay.
So that's testament to the way the Decent is designed in that flush valve, which where the water comes out here. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to go clean this quickly, and then we'll rinse the other parts, and we'll put them all back together, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right.
Yes,
be back in.
All right. So yes, I will share that link. Brian is asking whether I can put the link of downloading the preset into the machine.
Sure.
And also I'll try to write out the topic step by step how to do that. Basically, it's a drag the downloaded file preset and put it into the Decent folder in the Android system.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So that will do. Yeah.
I think there's a manual page too as well. I think as well.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a manual page too. I'll see if I can find it in a moment. Let me just go clean this, and I'll be right back.
Cool. So in the meantime, let me try to use the blind basket, and let me switch on my camera over here. Hold on. Switch off over here. So, okay, here we go. Main page will be like this, and then you go to setting, and you go machine. There's a clean over here. So what you do, you just put in a blind one, Loctite, and press the clean machine, the clean function, and that's it. It will stop in the midway while this, what do you call that? What's the animal name for this? Okay, forgot. Never mind. You see this wallpaper, that means it's not done yet, right? It will stop halfway. It will stop for probably like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Then we'll resume back the cycle. So, so long you see this wallpaper over here, it's not done yet. When it's done, it will be back to the Decent app, the Decent app. Yeah. So it's a very long cycle. Probably will take like 2 to 3 minutes, and you just have to wait. Yeah, just like that. It's nothing else. Very simple. You just need to put in. Okay. Just now I just did with the cleaning. So if you want to have, like, for example, what I did is just clean off everything from the blind flushing. So what I'll usually do once a week, I'll just, let's say just now we did how many cycles? 5 blind flushing. So yeah, good capybara. Thanks for that. I'm not sure what's the name of it.
I thought you would about that. I was gonna say, but I wasn't sure what you were talking about.
All right, back to the main topic. Just now I did clean the blind flushing. I rinse off, I clean off until it's clear, the water is clear. So what I'll usually do the routine once a week with the auto cleaning feature, what I'll do, I just run off the blind flushing, let's say 4 times. The remaining of the detergent, I just use the clean. I'll use the auto cleaning feature. Yeah, as simple as that. So let's say I clean it once, I take it out, the blind filter, the blind basket still has some detergent in it. It's fine. I just run another time of auto cleaning feature. That's it, until it's clean. Yeah. So I will not do a blind flushing with detergent, and then do another time of blind flushing, do another time of detergent with auto cleaning feature. So usually I'll just use once of the detergent, just use once, and then with blind flushing also, as well as, oh, the water is running out. Okay, let me add some water. So usually I'll just do once the detergent with blind flushing, as well as with the auto cleaning feature. Okay, give me a minute. I'll just add some water in. All right, let me put this down over here.
So while you're filling the water, I'll just let everyone know in my new tool is all toothbrushes. They're very, very useful.
All right.
So I'm just using an old toothbrush to kind of clean the screen. Or it doesn't have to be toothbrush, it can be the cleaning tool that Dennis mentioned. But it's very useful in getting in between those little circles. And if I soak this for long enough, I wouldn't need to do this. But because I've only soaked it for a little while, I kind of need to give it a helping hand. But as you can see, I'm just brushing and making sure I'm getting all those brown oils off around the exterior of the circles. Okay, so they've built up over time, and they are now affecting the way my water is distributing in the dispersion screen. Okay.
Okay, water is back.
Right.
Right. Okay, water is back, and it's done. So that's it, and it's done. So if let's say just now, like I mentioned, if there's still any soap detergent in it, you can just do another cycle by just tapping the clean again. Simple as that. Yeah. So that's it for the auto cleaning feature. All right, simple as that. So it's advised to do this once a week with detergent, and blind flushing is required to do it every day without detergent, and by the end of the day after use. Cool.
Yeah. Have you heard or read anything about the Weaver spring cleaning kit, Dennis?
Yeah, I heard about that. I did some research on that as well. It's because Weaver designed that for traditional machine. So if let's say if you are in a traditional machine, you have to flush it manually, blind flushing it manually. So that means you have to run the cycle 10 seconds, then stop and redo it again. So Weaver spring cleaning function that's very special. It's something like a gadget. How do I call that? Something like this tall. And the main purpose of that gadget is to fill up 250 ml of water in that spring clean, and then it will flush off everything in one shot. So in short, it's meant for saving time. Yeah, but still that is meant for blind flushing, but not cleaning off the top brass of the group head element. Yeah, that's good.
So this was I thought it was interesting to bring this up because I was also doing some research on it. Also just testing on the DE1 as well. And what I found interesting was it was developed because it was trying to clean the pipe, basically the black flush pipe, where the blue water and dirty water is going through. So I thought it was really interesting in that now we have a tool that is cleaning this part that the decent doesn't have to clean. And what we found with it using on the DE1 was it also helps to a certain extent clean the upper brass parts, which we didn't think it did before. So it does take 1 or 2 extra cycles. But if you are lazy and you've got lots of things to do in your bar or at home, it is an option for you. The only downfall is it is a little bit on the pricey side, and can get
What's
quite.
the price of that?
It's pretty hefty. I can't
150
remember.
USD.
Yeah, it's in the hundreds of USD, so it's not cheap. It is well made, but yeah, it does. I know a few decent users that do use it. One does it, I think, does a farmer's market and uses it all the time and finds it to great effect. So he obviously finds the benefit in saving a lot of time. So it is something to consider if you don't want to go into all this effort of soaking it yourself and things like that. There is a Weber spring cleaner profile. So we have tested it out. Yeah. And yeah, so there is an alternative. You don't want to do this. You know, you can just stick it in every, once or twice a month, and you won't really need to take out your brass parts unless you're running a lot of shots through there. So you'd be looking at cleaning your brass parts once a year if you had the spring cleaning kit. So worth a thought if you really don't want to spend time cleaning and scrubbing all this and that. Yeah.
Oh, 290. Thank you, Christian. It's $290.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
On the Weber spring clean, yeah.
But it's well made. It's
well made. It's I think Weber stand themselves as always very premium product as well as good quality stuff.
Yes.
Everything from them is premium and in terms of build up and quality.
Okay, so I've just finished scrubbing the parts. Okay, you can stand in the water.
That's a tea. English tea.
English tea, yes. I'm just going to take my screws out. I have just put my thing in there. So this one here is just plain warm water that I've used for rinse. Okay. And so I'll show you these parts now.
Shiny right now? Is it shiny?
Pretty shiny. I'd say I could get it a little bit more if I soaked it a little bit. So you can kind of see inside here, these bits are a bit dark. If I soaked it a little bit longer, they would be clean. But the inside of here is pretty shiny now. Okay, I can see the inside tiers of the holes as well. All right. The dispersion screen is a lot more cleaner. There is no black coffee on there now, or maybe just a little bit here. Okay, but an extra half an hour soaking would have got rid of that, no problem. And then the upper brass screen doesn't really look any different, just maybe a little bit bronzy colored, brassy colored, sorry. But it's a lot cleaner, and you can feel the feel of these parts now. They don't feel oily, they don't feel greasy, and even the baskets, they're a lot shinier now. Okay, they're really shiny. Okay.
Yeah,
and
can
including
see it from here.
The heads. Okay, so it's very, very shiny. Takes off all that gunk and grease and oil. Like I say, it could be a little bit better. So you can see here where it wasn't submerged to where it was. This is a little bit more dull, and this is really shiny. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to put this all back together now. But first off, I'm going to make sure I rinse these one last time under some fresh water before I do that. So I'll be right back in about a minute, and I'll leave you with Dennis for now.
Okay. Right now it's time to move on to steam 1 cleaning. Yeah. So let me switch camera. And let me pin my own camera over here. Hold on. Pin. Spotlight. All right. So I have here tap water. So what I'll do usually, I'll just put it in. It's very hard to, but let me try with single hand. What I'll do is just put it here and run the steam. Full pressure for me if you want to save some time. So it's around, I would say, give and take around 300 ml of water. There's not really a limit over here. If you want to have more, rinse more, you just put more water in. So what I'll do, first time, I'll just rinse with tap water. And then I'll try to boil it. Usually with my max out at 2.5 mil, usually with a max out, it will run until like 60 seconds, a minute, plus minus. It's not there yet. We are looking at the tone is really, really low pitch. Yeah. Make sure it's not boiled. Make sure it's not spilled out. It's not there yet. Yeah, it's not low enough. You're looking at until it's really, really low. Listen to the sound. It's getting lower and lower and lower. Almost there, almost there, almost there. Stop. Just like that. So let it purge, auto purge inside. So what I'll do usually, I'll just leave it like 5 minutes to rinse off so that the stain on the tip will easier to get rid of. So let's say right now it's 5 minutes over, yeah. So I'll take it out. Give it a little purge first before you have some water out. Okay. Turn it upside down. Now, if you can see, I just did one time of steaming, just once this morning, just once, yeah. So it already built up some stain over here. So we need a wet cloth to wipe it off. Make sure there's no more stain. Make sure there's no more stain. And if you can see the whole steam one, if let's say there's any stain, just wipe it off. It's very important to use a wet cloth. A dry cloth, the stain will stay. It's hard to wipe off. Done. Okay, for now it's done. So I recommend once a week you use with steam with cafeza. So let me demonstrate to you. I should dispose this. Okay, again, this one. All right. Put some cafeza in. Again, half of this, roughly around like this. So you guys can see it in. Again, in. Repeat the same. Around a minute. Just let it run. $18 seconds right now, 20. Let it run until it boils.
Dennis, sorry, what temperature are you using on the steam?
Right now I'm using 169, but it doesn't matter. To me, on the cleaning part, it does not matter. Yeah.
Okay. And also, I see you use cafeza in the milk pitcher.
Yeah.
I've also heard online that some people recommend to use cafeza in the water tank and to steam out the water so that all the milk solids will come out through the tubing inside the steamer. Would you recommend that?
Me personally, I do not recommend that.
No,
No, because it's too risky to consume. I'm not sure whether it's clean off really internally. Yeah.
We only really recommend citric acid to do that with. We wouldn't really recommend that. I mean, you probably achieve the same output doing what Dennis is showing right now, maybe 2 or 3 times extra, just to get that out. If you were going to do that, I would only really suggest that to do it with citric acid, really. Yeah.
It's safe to consume, right, Paul?
Yeah, because it's going through all the water pathways as well. It's kind of yeah, not as intended for caffeine to be used inside the machine. Yeah. So when we are doing it in the cleaning cycle, it is essentially not going through certain pathways, so i.e. the steam pathways. And the reason why we don't want to do that is the chance for it to go back into the steam heater, which is kind of more of a risk. So so yeah, we generally don't really advise that one. So if you're going to do it, just do it with citric acid. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Paul. And also on the citric acid note, I've read on the forum that John uses lemon instead of citric acid powder. How much lemon do you use inside the water tank? Is it like half a lemon, or is it like one whole lemon? How do you get the citric acid ratio? Do you know?
Well, I think it could be possible. I don't really want to recommend anything that could potentially give you more harm in there. Now, why am I saying that? Is because if your concentration of citric acid is not strong enough, what could happen is that you could perhaps not dissolve all the scale inside and leave like a clump that could block your machine. So we do recommend you to use citric acid to the certain recipe that we introduce for that reason. I think I'm not sure where you may have read that post from, but I am aware of some people doing it for kettles, where they use 3 lemons, juiced out 3 lemons, and then put that inside their kettle to do. But yeah, lemon juice is not as concentrated as citric acid powder. It's pretty cheap anyway, citric acid. You can buy like half a kilo of it and have enough for 2-3 years. It doesn't go off as long as you keep it away from moisture. So yeah, I would still lean towards sourcing some citric acid. You can find it quite easily in supermarkets. They sell the kettle cleaning kits that maybe in 30-gram bags, so you might have to get a couple of those. Or you can just try online and get a more value for money in a larger packet. So yeah,
I think we are much more in. That's why the citric acid is much more in standardized as lemon. Lemon has a lot of species. There's so many varietals of different acidity and different sugar level. So I'm not sure. Even the sizes is different. Even the sizes are different. So I'm not sure whether half of the smaller size or is half of the bigger size. So it's not as in communication wise, it's not the same page, I would say. So that's why 300 grams of citric acid, everyone say the same. We will recommend with the citric acid powder rather than lemons. So I will just soak this, let's say 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, then take out. Again, dispose. Done. I will just flush out a little bit, whatever internally, and clean up. So there is detergent in it, so I will just run through another 2 more rounds of boiling up. Okay, I'm grabbing the water. Okay, to be safe, clear off all this.
While you're repeating that, can I show how we're going to implement the gasket?
Sure.
Okay, so
let me put you in the spotlight right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so while Dennis is just repeating those cycles, just to finish up the steam one, I'm going to show how to put the gasket in the right way and how to identify the camphor again. So if I put it to an angle where we can see, okay, so this is a good angle. All right, we can see here, there is a little sort of slight sort of 45-degree sort of plateau here, okay? But wherever I switch it on the other side, okay, it's just flat. It's like almost like a 90-degree drop, okay? So this side is on the bottom, and the side that has the little sort of indentation on the edge, inner edge, is the way we put inside. So it should be facing the GHC buttons, okay? So the camphor, it should be facing up towards the group head, okay? And the straight edge is on the outside, okay? So we can kind of logically see if that curved edge was on the outside, there's a potential for the inner circle to start leaking and leaking over to the outside, okay? So that's why it has to be the right way up. And to put it in, we just simply press on each side and then make sure it's in. If you're finding it's a little bit tight, i.e. you've got quite a brand new gasket, you can wait to implement all your screens and brass screens first, and then use your portafilter, either with the blind or the normal gasket, and just try to slowly re-engage your portafill back in, and you will find that your gasket will naturally go back into its housing if it's already been aligned, okay? So it's been aligned now, and I'm fairly happy that it's all snug and pretty in there. So next up would be the upper brass plate, okay? And remember these two nodules here, okay? This is your guide. This is the temperature probe, and as I mentioned before, I wasn't sure where the pressure probe was, but it's right here, okay? And we can kind of see from the tarnishing a little bit that the water pathway is here, so the pressure is red here, and water is distributed to the outside, okay? So if I put that upside down, we can kind of see the two nodules go in here and here, the temperature sensors here, and then the pressure sensor is just behind this one here, okay? So I'm going to try to line this up now. Okay, I'm just going to give it a bit of a wiggle to make sure it's in. I can see the nut there, and the temperature probe is almost touching the brass there. And then now comes the lower brass plate and the characteristic two nodules again. And then the sensor probe will come out here. Sometimes it gets a bit confusing when you're doing it upside down. You may want to feel like you've got the sensor probe to go in this hole here, and you will see from the outside, from the handle, you'll see this hole. So if you see this hole near the locking handle here, you've misaligned the holes, okay? So I've done that a few times. All right, so make sure it's in the right position, and you will find it just slots into place very tightly, and there's almost no give, okay? Well, there's pretty much no give, which is great. All right. And then comes the dispersion screen, all nice and cleaned up. Now, when you're implementing the dispersion screen, you can kind of see the IMS logo there and the name there, the model there. So we want to have the IMS facing the water spout here, okay? This is how we installed it in the factory. And also, I don't know if this was by chance or whether we actually did this in testing, but the alignments of the holes contributes to the better distribution. Now, some users have found that if it's too close to the side here, it's not going to distribute or align properly with the holes. So when you are tightening, just before you tighten it too much, have the IMS like that, okay? So it's not quite in the middle. You will find when you tighten the nut, it will go like this naturally anyway, okay? So that's my little tip. All right, so we put the screw in, screw it in a little bit. I've got the IMS slightly off center. I'm going to screw it straight in. But before I do that, I've just got to remember I've got to put the other screws on the lower brass plate before I do that. I got a bit carried away. Otherwise, that would have been pretty bad. Okay, so remember to put the 3 screws in the upper brass plate before you put the lower brass plate on. Okay, I'm just going to pre-put them in already, and then I'm going to tie them all in one go. All right, so let's keep it tightened. Now, I'm one of those guys that doesn't tighten them all straight away. I just get a nice little traction, torque, and then I move on to the next one, and then I tighten them all when I've finished. Now, this just kind of makes sure that, you know, if you do have any coffee grinds under there or something you haven't aligned it properly, that you're not just going to do damage on your brass plates. Okay. So a bit of torque there. I'm going to start tightening now. And you will find if you do it like this anyway, your screws will tighten a little bit tighter than they would. So you don't need to tighten as tight as you normally tighten a screw. Okay, so the brass plate goes back on, put the dispersion.
Okay. I have a question, Paul.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not really sure whether it's IMS really print the IMS logo at the same side of the screen. Is that the same? And let's say the IMS logo is facing at 12 o'clock, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but is that the same to every IMS puck screen that's produced by IMS?
Now, the reason I'm going through this is because when I first saw this issue with aligning the screen, I actually never experienced this issue. And only when I started tackling customers who had this issue did I really look into it. And the first point of call I did was I asked our team in Hong Kong, you know, is there a standard way that we've been taught to implement the screen? And they just relayed to me, they just put the IMS here and here. Now, I don't know if, like I mentioned, I don't know if that was by chance or whether we did some research into that, but it does seem that certain configurations of this screen, i.e. the alignment of the holes with the brass plate, affect the distribution of water. Now, I've been toying around with this quite a lot, and I've gone to the point where now I am flushing, I wipe my screen, and then I actually flush again. Now, the reason why I flush again is because I personally think it's more of surface tension of the water, i.e. there are dry spots here where, you know, there's intense heat, so the water is evaporating off. So sometimes you see steam coming from the group head, and those dry spots are the last to distribute water. So as the group head fills the distribution screen, those dry points are the last to receive water and seem like the water is distributed unevenly. So whether it is the alignment of the holes or surface tension behind the screen, I don't know. I mean, I could say it's something to do with the coating on the screen that is causing the water tension to be affecting even more, but it's hard to say. So that is my current way of going about it to make sure I've got a good distribution before I start. Is I flush, wipe, and then flush again. Make sure I see the raindrops before I engage my group head. And every time I've done that, I've seen no issues with my extractions. So it's just the way I've gone about it. So if you're finding that's the issue, try it out and see if it improves your extractions. Okay. So everything's back in now. So I'm just going to turn over the machine and reprime my machine to make sure everything is working. And essentially, that is how to take apart and clean the internals of the group. Okay. I'm just going to go back and turn it over, turn the machine back on, make sure everything's working, and hopefully let you hear the sound of the pumps pumping from air to pumping water. Okay. So. Okay. Still amazes me how light this machine is, you know?
Yeah, how portable is this machine is?
Yeah, it's so portable. I just remember, like, you know, 3 group machines with 4 people trying to move one machine. It's crazy.
Even one group.
Yeah,
one group. I have a headache.
Oh, right. So I will turn on now. Where's my drip tray? So hopefully I'll bring the camera over and hopefully you can capture the noise of the pumps. So what we will hear is a high tone of the pumps. It'll go, and then as the water is pumping, it will go deeper to the sound that we're more familiar with. But if you've never heard this sound before, you probably think that maybe something is wrong. So it's good to get this on camera. So I'm going to turn the DE1 in, hopefully plug in the power first. I took it out, just bear with me. Okay. So going through the cycles now, AC power button's out. So this is like essentially a startup process. Just checking the pumps. I think it had quite a droplet in there, so it didn't quite make the noise that I was hoping it did. So this will be deeper.
The machine is trying to sense the water level right now.
So it's just priming its water pathways. So you heard the pump just then go.
Yeah.
So as it went deeper, it meant the water was filling the pumps and has now filled the water pathways. So as the GHD finishes its startup process here, it is essentially making sure that the pumps are working and they've got water inside, and now it can proceed to the heating element. In the start portions of the sequence, you hear the AC power button physically click on, and that's just it testing its circuit boards and making sure connections are ready. So it's a good little signal to know. It's kind of like Windows starting. Your yellow line is the Windows loading screen, as to say, and now it is in the heating process and it's finalizing the heating, the water to make sure it's ready for espresso. You kind of see this in the metal temperature as well. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that what we've done is correct, and the water is now pumping and priming, and I have water. And now would be the time where I would just season my machine to make sure that all the internals are clean of any detergent. And yeah, you're rocking. So yeah, that's it really.
Simple as that. Simple as that.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. I've just soaked the steam one for more than 10 minutes right now. I'll just show a little bit. All right. Okay. Let me highlight myself a little.
Yeah.
Pin myself. Okay. One note on based on my personal experience, mistakes that I made. I was a lazy person. So I always, when I use the previous machine, I always leave it as it is right now over the night. The next day I want to pull shot, then I just dry it. So which is no good. Because over the 3 years, I start to realize that the tip is starting to rust. So do not leave the steam one soaking the hot water overnight for long term. Yeah, always the max I soak the water is like 10 minutes or half an hour. So then I'll just take it out and clean it up. Make sure it's dry and clean and shiny. Yeah, so you have to do this every day, but the detergent is probably once a week. Yeah, depends on your usage. If you don't drink milk, coffee, obviously you don't have to. Yeah, so I'll just, like I mentioned just now, first time I'll just use the tap water to run through, boil it up until the stains are soggy. Then I clean off with a wet cloth. And then I use detergent to put it in. And again, I boil it second time. So the third time and fourth time, we will just water to rinse out the detergent inside. Yeah, just to be safe and consume. But one note, do not soak this hot water, leave it here. Do not soak it overnight. In long term, it will corrode the tip. It will rust. You start to rust, start to see some black dots, and sooner or later you start to see some brown dots, and it's very disgusting. Yeah. So anyway, the tip can be can remove. If you want to see what's happening inside, if there's something stuck, you can just use some pin, toothpick perhaps, to pick off the holes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend a toothpick or something more wooden. I used to use a pin, but I think over time the pin makes the holes bigger.
It's no good, man.
No good.
I think pin will scratch, right? Pin will scratch,
yeah, pin
but the toothpick would not. The toothpick would not. Yeah. So that's it. For if you want to, just you can soak the whole thing inside if you want to, but I do not do that. So the easier for me is just to clean off and then I just wipe it off with a clean cloth, wet cloth, and then that's it. It's safe to consume for the steam one right now. So that's it from my side, Paul.
Fantastic. All right. So I believe we've managed to fit in everything we wanted to do today.
Oh yeah.
Just about. And I think we've gone through quite a lot, and we've had some really good questions today. If anyone does have any questions right now before we head off, ask away. If not, you can always save it till next week, or ping one of us anytime. That's no problem. But it's been really enjoyable. Thank you, Dennis, for joining along. Most likely we'll revisit some other parts of the machine coming up. We'll probably do descale and all the other little bits. And yeah.
Are we going to do a part 2 in next week time?
Sunday? We can do part 2 next time. Yeah, if you
we talk about descale.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, cool.
We'll talk about maybe some of the thimble and some of the other pieces that people may not realize are important to clean as well. And yeah, so hopefully you guys have found things useful from this Zoom. I've learned something new from you, Dennis, as well. So it's always great to come on a Zoom with you. It's always great learning new things. So so I see no one's asking any questions. So if that's the case, we'll look to wrap it up, and we'll see you all with Dennis and me to next week.
Have a great Sunday, Paul, and everyone as well.
All right, I'm going to go yum chat now.
Bye. Have a good dim sum. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.